Now, before I leave the topic of DTD construction and so forth, I want to mention these data types just so that I make sure that I don't confuse you on this. Because if you remember, we're using two basic element or tag declarations in the DTD. That's the elements and the attributes. Now, on the element declaration, if you remember, we put the exclamation point element, we put the name of the element that was going to appear, and the type. Now, the type on that was either PC data, which meant this thing's going to contain regular character data, parsed character data, or if you remember, we would put in parentheses here the various names of other tags that would be inside there, an asterisk plus, question mark, and so forth. So this is how we told the element declaration which particular element could have what kind of data and so forth. Now notice you don't have a lot of control here, and you're going to see later on this has been dealt with pretty well in some other versions of schemas. Now on the attribute side, this gets kind of interesting because in a DTD you can actually provide a lot more information about your attribute information than you can about your elements. Notice the at list. Syntax here, we use exclamation point at list, the name of the element, the attribute that is included for that, and we can put multiples here. I didn't get into that here. Then we can put the attribute type and then a default value. This type right here is what I want to make sure that you understand about for the most part. And just to confuse you, this is called C data, character data. Now this is technically, it's unparsed data. Don't worry about that right now. But on an element it's called PC data. Here it's called C data. The next type that we can put, and I'm just going to mention a couple of these just so that you'll know that there's other things you can put in attributes. You can put enumerated, which is just a series of string values that could show up there, and you can use the OR symbol, the pipe, and all that. Notation can go there. This is something that's declared elsewhere in the DTD. This gets a little bit more involved. An entity, this is external binary entities that can be included. All in all, there's about 10 different data types that you can put on the attribute. And again, it's kind of interesting. There's more than you can do there than you can actually do on the elements. But this ultimately is the weak spot in a DTD. And that is the inability to set data types and control data. One of the fundamental or first lines of defense on data integrity with a database is locking down what types of data are going into the fields with our various data types. DTDs don't supply that. Now that comes in with some of the other schema functionalities that have been developed, but it is one of the weak points of DTDs, and that's one of the arguments that you'll hear about it when you get into those kinds of debates or hear those kinds of debates. So I just wanted to clarify the different data types that you're going to see out there, and if you're coming from another programming background, say VB, Java, or so forth, when we say data types, we tend to think integer, float, binary, Boolean, and so forth. So a little bit different terminology here, or a little bit different than what you might have expected.